All right, everybody, welcome back to my region breakdown. This is Region 2, Baylor's region. Like I said to start with the last video, I'm doing these videos live just because it's easier than, filming them all, uploading them. That'll take forever. So it's easier to do it live, but I'm not going to be interacting with the chat. So any Q&A and anything, any questions, I'll have a video for that tomorrow. I can interact with the chat and answer questions and everything like that. But I'll just be doing my own thing here. Before I begin this video, just real quick, this video is sponsored by BetMGM and BetRivers. If you live in Tennessee, Indiana, Colorado, Iowa, or Virginia, you can sign up with BetMGM today, get up to a $600 risk-free bet with the link in the description below. And if you live in Illinois or Pennsylvania, you can sign up with BetRivers and get up to a $250 instant deposit match upon signing up with the link in the description below as well. So keep your money in the United States. Don't waste it on overseas sports books. Sign up with one of those two books today if you live in one of those 7 states. All right, so this is Region 2, otherwise known as Baylor's region. So when we look at the round-by-round matrix, whoops, I forgot to lock in my long shot bets from the last one. Okay, locked in now. All right, so let's go ahead and look at what the odds say compared to this. So right now, Baylor is at according to my matrix, the 20,000 simulations that I did, Baylor has about a little over 1 in 4 chance of making the Final Four of this bracket, and Ohio State right along with them. So one of those two teams make up 50%. And then the other 50% is pretty much evenly divided among, I would guess you'd say, this is the next tier right here of Arkansas, Villanova, Purdue, and Texas Tech. And then you have a tier right here of North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Florida. And then everybody else, besides Hartford and Oral Roberts, is given at least an 0.2% chance of making it, as you can see. Baylor, about a 6.8% chance of winning it all, and a 4.5% chance for Ohio State. Those are your top 2 title contenders here. So when you're looking at the odds, what I see right now is Baylor at plus 160 to make the Final Four, which is not a value play because my odds are 267. Ohio State's going to be your value play here. They're at plus 400. I have them at plus 349. So that's a value play there. Arkansas plus 800, not valuable. Villanova is at plus 1600. I'm guessing that's because of the injury, because right there at 960, that's got to be because of their injury. So you might want to stay away with that one. I don't know. It might still be worth a shot. Purdue's plus 800. They're at 1142. Texas Tech, plus 800 at 1287, no value. North Carolina, looks like everybody else is too much of a long shot here to make a play. So it looks like if you want to play Ohio State at plus 400, I would, just because they are the only value play I see here. Again, Villanova is a value play, but I have them at 960. This has 1600 again, just because of injuries. So I still think it might be worth it, just a little bit of money on Villanova. I'm going to go ahead and lock in Ohio State plus 400 right now, and I'm going to lock in Villanova just for a little bit smaller unit size. All right. But that is the matrix for Region 2, as you can see. So let's go ahead and start breaking down the first round matchups. And any bets I have will be here on the 19th, and I will go over them. So first up, there's no first 4. Hold on. Let me get these bets locked in first. So no first 4 here, so we can start right away with Baylor and Hartford, which is going to be a blowout. My model has Baylor by about 19, a little bit closer than I was expecting. Hartford, the number 166 team in my model, Baylor is number 5. So if Hartford is going to be the second team from the America East to beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, how will they do it? Well, as I was saying last night, Baylor's weaknesses is they don't do a good job of getting to the free throw line, and they are not a good defensive rebounding team, and they don't defend the 3 very well. But the 3 and the defensive rebounding just comes with the fact that they play a 2-3 zone almost exclusively, and that's where the weakness is had for a team like Baylor. And unfortunately, Hartford, below average in 3-point shooting, below average in offensive rebounding, and they don't take care of the ball very well, which Baylor does a good job of forcing turnovers, 6 nationally. So this has all the makings for a very tough matchup for Hartford, unfortunately. That's where they would have to get it done. I watched Hartford in the America East final. They just walk the ball very slow up the court. It looks like they're playing stall from the first possession. and they don't do a good job of defensive rebounding while Baylor's top 5 in offensive rebounding. This is just not a good matchup for them. I'm surprised my model only had it at like 18, which is why I'm on Hartford plus 26.5, following my numbers. But it's a tough matchup for them. I think the reason that they would be able to cover a spread like 26.5 is just because they're going to try to probably slow the game down like they did in the America East Final. So if you go over here and look at similar matchups, Hartford only by 10. Again, this metric really favors, is really friendly towards underdogs. So I wouldn't look into it too much because, this is still, I kind of redid my ATM model last night, so this is the result of it. I'm not using it to bet. I'm still using my old ATM model to bet because this is still in the early stages. But I wanted to have it ready for this, so that's why I have it. But actually, the reason the margin is so close is because the top matchup, Utah and BYU, last year, is actually the team similar to Hartford won the game. And it actually gives Hartford a decent chance, a 20% chance, but I wouldn't look too much into it. This is a better tool for more competitive matchups. It's still in its infancy. It still needs a lot of work. Trying to find teams that are similar to other teams it's harder than it sounds. It really is, because there's so many ways you can go, and it's hard. But anyway, that's how that sees it. But I wouldn't look too much into that. All right. Do I have a bet on the total in that game? I do not. All right, so moving on to the 8-9 game, which I think is a very interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to breaking this one down. North Carolina and Wisconsin. Again, you could download this file in the link in the description below for your personal use. All right, well, first glance, this is a very competitive matchup. North Carolina by about 1.5 points, about a 52.5% win chance in a 137.8 total. So North Carolina does not take a lot of threes. They almost shoot exclusively twos. Their 2 to 3 point ratio is very lopsided. And for good reason. They don't really do a good job at making threes. But they are the best offensive rebounding team in the country, which Wisconsin top 20 in defensive rebounding. It looks like this is strength on strength, though. North Carolina does a good job at protecting the ball when it comes to steals, but they're not the best passing team when it comes to turnovers. Wisconsin, a little bit above average and all those on the other side. North Carolina does a good job of getting to the free throw line. They have to, but they're not good free throw shooters, but they make up with that by getting to the line. Wisconsin does a decent job of preventing teams. So this is going to be a battle of tempos, fast tempo versus slow tempo. Whichever team control the pace will probably win. North Carolina is a better defensive team, and Wisconsin not the strongest offensive team relative. If you're looking for strength on strength, Wisconsin, 22nd in the country in three-point field goal percentage, which plays into North Carolina that's not top 100 in three-point field goal percentage. However, Wisconsin, not a good offensive rebounding team. North Carolina does a good job at rebounding. North Carolina blocks a lot of shots, and Wisconsin's prone to getting the shots blocked. And North Carolina does a good job of preventing teams from getting to the foul line, and Wisconsin's not the best at that. So I think what this game will all come down to is who can control tempo. When we come in here and look at similar matchups, very, very even, like 0.01 points separate the two. This is a very even matchup. However, the most similar matchup was Northwestern against Texas Tech on a neutral floor in 2017, in which the team similar to North Carolina, in this case Texas Tech, won by 36. So this is very even matchup right here. Very excited to watch that one. Do I have a bet on that game? We're looking for North Carolina and Wisconsin. I don't, so it'll just be one you have to enjoy. Moving on to the next matchup between Winthrop and Villanova. Remember, Villanova has some injuries, so we might have to take that into account here. So my model has Villanova by 6.5, about a 77% win chance and a total of 147.2. Again, this will be a battle of tempos. Winthrop plays very fast. Villanova is going to try to slow you down, and I think Villanova will win the tempo battle here. So Winthrop cannot be flustered if they get slowed down. And the only team to beat Winthrop this year, UNC Asheville, did just that. They slowed them down. So Winthrop, even though they play fast, they don't have a top 100 offense. And Villanova has a better defense than they have offense. So that is not working out for them. So if you're looking to exploit anything, Villanova, average at defending 3, and Winthrop slightly above average. Winthrop's a good offensive rebounding team, but Villanova's a good defensive rebounding team. Winthrop doesn't allow a lot of steals, but Villanova's not really a stealing team and not a very good team at getting to the line. So there's offense versus defense. I think Villanova does a good job at blocking anything Winthrop's going to want to do here. And then the other side, Villanova, the 9th-ranked offense in the country against, even though Winthrop plays fast, still almost a top 50 defensive team. So don't think just because they play fast means they're not going to be good defensively. Alabama's another team like that. But unfortunately, Winthrop does not have good percentage field goal defense on either 2s or 3s, and Villanova's good at that. They do a good job at defensive rebounding, and Villanova not the best offensive rebounding team. And the thing is, Villanova is a very good passing team, And, Winthrop does a decent job of forcing turnovers and preventing assists, but I think they just won't be able to force enough turnovers here. And a very bad job at blocking shots. And Villanova's usually good at getting to the foul line, but not this year. However, Winthrop's even worse. They allow opponents to get to the line. So when you look at the matchup here, Winthrop's only shot is taking advantage of the injury. And that's the thing, just offensively, they play at a fast pace, but they don't really do anything well except offensive rebounds. So that's what they're going to have to do to have a chance here. They're going to have to get some offensive rebounds, maybe draw some fouls. I don't know if Villanova's the team that they'll be able to do that against. And then defensively, they're just going to have to prevent second chances from Villanova and prevent them from getting to the line. In that case, they might have a chance. But this is a tough ask. When you look at the stats, it's a tougher ask than you think it would be, even with the injury. The injury might change things, though. And so when we look at the similar matchups here, same edge, about a 5.5-point edge over here, about a 1 in 3 chance for Winthrop, which is a little bit higher than what my Blender and Random Forest give them. But you see a lot of red over here, a lot of red in the most similar matchups. So it'll be tough for Winthrop. Just like with UC Santa Barbara, probably not the best 12/5 upset chance here. All right, moving on to North Texas and to Purdue. I'm really excited to look at this one. And do I have a bet on the Winthrop game? I have a bet on the over. I have over 140 in that game. This projects 147.2, and the similar matchups project but still over, but not as much, but still my bets are based off the Blender and Random Forest, definitely. All right, so moving on to North Texas and Purdue. I'm excited to break this one down. All right, so 2 slower-paced teams. Like I said, North Texas is pretty much Virginia. They're pretty much Virginia in how they play, only they do a little worse job at preventing teams from getting to the line, but they slow the game down massively. So just right off the bat, my model gives North Texas about a 1 in 4 chance and only about a 6.5-point edge for Purdue. And I will say right now, I am on North Texas money line at plus 275. But this is going to be a low-scoring game, only a projected total of 124.4. So if you're looking for North Texas here to spring any kind of upset, you have to look for a weakness of Purdue. So Purdue allows teams to shoot threes. They give you the 3 and they take away the 2. But Purdue does not do a good job at forcing turnovers. They let teams pass the ball around. And they foul more than they should. However, those fouls are usually not free throw fouls. So if North Texas is going to spring the upset here, you really don't see anything that they play into when it comes to Purdue. And that's not a good sign. They're going to have to pass the ball, which is what they do. They play like Virginia offensively, like I said. They're going to have to pass the ball and get some open looks and make them. Purdue's a little bit weaker at defending the 2 than the 3 because they give you the 3 on purpose because they do such a good job at defending it. So North Texas will have to hit some points in the paint, and that's hard to do against Travion Williams, and Charles Bassey gave them a hard time in the Conference USA Final the other night. North Texas had a very hard time hitting 2s. However, North Texas' strength is defense, so if they're going to win this game, it's probably not going to be what they do on offense, but more what they do on defense. Purdue is top 25 both offense and defense. However, Purdue's weakness is hitting threes. They're not very good at it, but they're very good at hitting twos because of Travion Williams. North Texas did a great job at defending Travion Williams the other night, but the thing is, they were able, or not Travion Williams, Charles Bassey, but they were able to double team him. A lot harder to do against a team like Purdue when they have more weapons around the floor. And Purdue does a very good job at rebounding the ball offensively, and North Texas not very good at that. They're going to have to prevent offensive rebounds to have a chance. And Purdue is very good at getting to the line, while North Texas, that's where they differ from Virginia. Virginia doesn't defend without fouling, while North Texas does. So Purdue's going to get their free throws in this game. They're going to get their offensive rebounds. So what North Texas has to do is slow the game down, do better than they expect to do, defensive rebound, try to hope that Purdue misses some free throws or below average at that, and offensively just make the most of every possession. But at 275 money line, I think they're worth a shot. North Texas is not a bad team. This is just a harder matchup for them, just because they're playing a team with a similar style, slow the ball down, all of that. So when we look at similar matchups, North Texas only by about 3.5 here with a 1 in 3 chance at winning, which is a little bit higher than the 25% chance that my other models give them winning. But again, this is like beta right here. This is like in its infancy, the similar matchup thing. It still needs some work. There's a reason I don't use it to bet with yet, and I still use my old ATM model. But either way, the average total, 133.2, a little bit higher than the other metric. However, the total goes higher the further down you go. Like the top 35 matchups have a total closer to what my old model has. Again, but when you look at the matchup similarity, I mean, the top 7 matchups have an average margin of 0. So this is a closer matchup than people think. It's not until you go down the line that Purdue kind of pulls away here. So a lot closer matchup than people think, which is why I think North Texas is worth a shot on the money line, just because of their style. Their style can kind of frustrate you, and especially if they can pull it off. The only worry I have with North Texas is can they score and can they rebound. All right, moving on to Utah State and Texas Tech, another very interesting matchup. I was very glad that the committee put Utah State in. They were deserving. 0.02 separate the score. However, Texas Tech has more of an edge on the projected win percentage. Projected total of 129.5. So Texas Tech, as we all know, is a very good defensive team. And Utah State, it really depends. If Brock Miller plays, their offense is better, but San Diego State shut them down the other night, and I think Texas Tech will be able to do the same. However, if Texas Tech has a weakness on defense, it's defending the three. But the thing is, Utah State, without Brock Miller, has a hard time of making the three, so they're going to need Brock Miller to hit those. But Utah State, just not a very good team at making shots. However, they're very good at offensive rebounding, which is a weakness for Texas Tech. So if they get multiple opportunities, they can kind of neutralize that weakness they have at percentage field goal defense. Utah State very good at getting assists, but Texas Tech is very good at forcing turnovers and not letting you pass the ball around. And here's a weakness. Utah State below average at turnover percentage. Texas Tech forces a lot. So I expect Utah State to have a hard time doing what they need to do in that regard. However, Texas Tech does a very bad job. They allow their opponents to get to the free throw line, and Utah State's a good free throw shooting team, and they're better at getting to the line that Texas Tech is preventing from getting to the line. So what Utah State has to do here is get to the line, make free throws, rebound the ball, get a ton of opportunities, and do better than they expect to do at turning the ball over. Now, the Utah State defense is their strength. They're actually a better defensive team than Texas Tech, but offensively, Texas Tech is a better offensive team than Utah State. Now, if Utah State has a weakness on defense, it is they don't force a lot of turnovers. And Texas Tech does a good job at taking care of the ball. However, they're a good rebounding team. They're a good team at field goal percentage defense, and Texas Tech not the greatest at making twos. So I think if Utah State can force Texas Tech to take threes, which is what they don't want to do, Texas Tech is a very heavy two-point shooting team. So if Utah State can pack it in, force Texas Tech to take jump shots and limit them to one shot on the possession, I think they have a chance here. I do. And I am on Utah State spread and money line in this game. So just to point that out, I like Utah State here. I think that Texas Tech it seems like there's just something missing with them this year. I said that yesterday on the stream. It seems like something is missing with Texas Tech. So I think Utah State, they didn't close the season very strong, but I think with Brock Miller back from injury, a little bit more prep time, I think that they can do it. And by the way, both of these coaches coached Matt Mooney. All right, moving on to the 2-15 matchup in this region, which is Ohio State and Oral Roberts. The number 18 versus the number 162 team. So this has Ohio State by about 17 with a 91.3% win chance and a 157.1 total. Now, the glaring thing here is the fact that Ohio State, the number 3 offense going up against the number 278 defense. Ohio State's going to score in this one. They're going to score at will. Oral Roberts doesn't really do anything well defensively. They do a good job at defending the 2 relative to the rest of their defensive stats, but they do a very poor job at defending the 3. And Ohio State is the number 3 3-point shooting team in the country. And Oral Roberts a very poor defensive rebounding team, while Ohio State is not the greatest offensive rebounding team, but relative to what Oral Roberts does, Ohio State's going to be able to name their score on the offensive end. They do everything very well. And the thing is, Oral Roberts plays a fast tempo, and Ohio State, as good as they are offensively, a slower tempo. So if Oral Roberts can control the tempo here, which I don't think they will, they might be able to make a game of it for a while, but this is a tough matchup. So when you come down here, though, Oral Roberts, the number 78 offense, that's where they excel against a relatively weak defense for Ohio State. So Oral Roberts, I think they'll be able to score too. I just don't think they'll be able to stop Ohio State enough. If Ohio State has a defensive weakness, they don't force turnovers. They let teams pass the ball around, and they let their opponents shoot free throws. Unfortunately, while Oral Roberts is the number 1 free throw shooting team in the country in terms of free throw percentage, they don't do a very good job of getting to the line. What Oral Roberts does is they make threes, and they take care of the ball. And they shoot a ton of threes. So that's Oral Roberts' only chances. They're going to have to go lights out from 3 in this one. And Ohio State, a pretty good job at defending the 3. They let their opponents take threes, but they do a good job at defending the 3. So Oral Roberts is going to have to hit a ton of threes in this game to have a chance, because they're not going to get a lot of second chances. They don't do a good job at rebounding the ball. Fortunately, though, Ohio State doesn't force a lot of turnovers, but yeah, Oral Roberts is somehow going to have to get to the line and take advantage of that number 1 free throw percentage and make a ton of threes. And that's anytime you tell a team that you're going to have to make a ton of threes, it usually doesn't happen, because even if they do make a ton of threes, this right here, the number 3 3-point shooting team against a 281 3-point defense. Oral Roberts, you guys had a good run. You guys have a very good player, 2 good players in Max Asmus and Kevin O'Banner, but defensively, this is a mismatch among all mismatches. And if you like overs in this game, do I have a bet on the total in this game? I do not. So the total in this game, I'm not sure what it is, but I can tell you right now I don't have a over bet in this one. Let's see what it is real quick. Whoops. Ohio State and Oral Roberts. I'm guessing they play on the 19th. It is 155.5, so a little slightly over that, but not enough to where you could say there's value. And then when we look at similar matchups, it's probably going to be closer than we think. No, we didn't look at the Utah State similar matchup, by the way. We forgot about this tab, but the similar matchup for Utah State over here, about a 4-point deficit, 135.5 total. So a little bit more friendly to Texas Tech over here. And then, we forgot Colgate and Arkansas, my bad. So I jumped straight to the 3. I skipped a couple, so I apologize for that, at least when it comes to the order. So let's look at Oral Roberts real quick. So this similar matchup grid has a total of 150.7, a 10-point gap. Like I said, this is still in its infancy. This needs a lot more work, but it's fun to just look at anyway. Purdue Fort Wayne at Notre Dame in 2016 sounds like a pretty similar matchup to me. Fairfield and Purdue, like these ones at the top seem pretty similar, and then as you go down, a little bit less similar. So there you go. Like the top 6 matchups have an edge of 23.2 for the teams similar to Ohio State, and a total of 163. So top 50 is an arbitrary cutoff point. The best way to do it, which is how I do it in the ATM, is I try to do like certain number of standard deviations away from the similarity score and then cut it off at that. This is just an arbitrary top 50, which is going to have more noise in it. So anyway, Colgate and Arkansas. Let's get to that one real quick because we skipped that one on accident because I accidentally went from the 6-11 to the 2-15. So this is my most interesting matchup in the tournament, and I kind of had to not redo my model, but I had to change the phase out of my model. When I say phase out, I phase out the preseason ratings as the season goes on, but I had to raise the number of games a team has to the number of games that the phase out is, just because Colgate is the reason. So because I did that, they dropped from like 27 to 53 in my model, which is still pretty high, but you got to phase out the preseason ratings at some point. Otherwise, too many teams will be too higher than they say. But this is a 53 team versus a 9 team. The projected score, only a point margin. But however, I'm not on the Colgate spread. I'm not. Which is, because the other metrics in my model, these are just the blender and the random forest. Like the Monte Carlo metrics and the ATM were a lot more friendly to Arkansas, which is why I'm not on Colgate. But Colgate has about a 30% chance here, and I think that's reasonable. I think that is very reasonable. Based on what we can determine from Colgate, are they favorites? No. Are they 50-50? No. But about a 3 in 10 chance sounds about right. Arkansas is a good team, though, and if Colgate's going to get it done, they're going to have to get it done on the offensive end. The 37th ranked offense. Unfortunately, Arkansas is a good defensive team that doesn't really have any weaknesses. They are a very well-rounded defensive team, so Colgate, they're not going to get a lot of second chances here. However, they do a good job at taking care of the ball, so they're going to have to do that. Arkansas does a good job at turning you over, so Colgate's going to have to take care of the ball. Arkansas doesn't let you shoot free throws. And if Arkansas has any relative weakness at all, it might be 2-point defense, and Colgate's pretty good at that. Jordan Burns is a good player. Both teams play very fast, the 27th tempo against the 13th tempo. So this is going to be a up-and-down game. So what Colgate's going to have to do is make twos, make enough threes, and take care of the ball because they're not going to get any second chances if they miss any shots. But here's where the real matchup is. Arkansas's 29th offense against Colgate's relatively weak defense. Colgate, they let you take threes, and so Colgate's weakness is definitely 2-point field goal percentage defense. They do a good job at defending the three, but unfortunately, Arkansas's strength of making twos plays into the weakness here. However, they should be able to limit Arkansas from making threes. And Colgate is average at defensive rebounding, and Arkansas is above average, so they're going to have to limit second chances. Colgate does not turn you over. Arkansas takes care of the ball. So, but Colgate does a decent job of preventing free throws. So if Colgate's going to have to spring the upset, like I said, they're going to have to make sure Arkansas stays cold from three. They're going to have to prevent Arkansas from getting to the line. And then they're on offense, they're going to have to make twos, not threes. Very rarely do you say that in a 3-14 matchup. You're usually like, the underdog has to make threes. No, in this one, Colgate has to make twos. They need to make twos. But ultimately, when you look at the stats like this, you can see where Arkansas has the edge. And I feel like my model up here, a little bit too friendly to Colgate, but that's why I'm not betting them. Let's look at some similar matchups. Okay, this one has a little bit more reasonable. Colgate by about 3, down by about 3 with a 40% win chance, though. So the win chance is higher, but the margin is lower. The top 5 matchups all have Arkansas by a combined 5 points. I think that's very reasonable. I could see Colgate playing well, but just, coming up short. That's reasonable. The top 20 matchups has Arkansas by 6. Again, reasonable. Like, if Colgate's going to win, it's going to be by a hair. And all the similar Colgate teams here win by like 2. And by the way, these are neutralized scores, by the way. I haven't even mentioned that, meaning I take the home advantage out of it. I calculate what the home advantage was in all these seasons, and I take the home advantage out of it so you can use the margin stuff on a neutral floor. But yeah, very, very interesting matchup here. I'm very excited to watch it. I think it's one of the first games on Friday, so right out of the gate, we'll be able to see it. All right, and then the last matchup in this region in the first round is Virginia Tech and Florida. 2 below average. I'm not very interested in this one at all. I think 2 relatively below average teams that aren't really going to be relevant in this tournament, so it's like, who cares almost? So Virginia Tech and Florida, number 31 team versus the 51 team. I have Florida by 2.5, 60% win chance. Do I have a bet on this game? I do not. So, I mean, when you go down the line, like this matchup might be the boringest first round matchup. Like 1/16 games can be boring, but it's at least fun to like say, hey, it could happen. Like Angels in the outfield, it could happen. But like, there's no it could happen here. Like, I don't even care about breaking this matchup down, but I will. It's the 28th offense against the 59th defense, the 59th defense versus the 41 offense. Like, such a milquetoast matchup right here. Wow. I mean, Florida has the edge, and if Virginia Tech has a weakness on offense, it's offensive rebounding, which, plays into Florida State's relative defensive weakness. Virginia Tech does a great job of getting to the line, and Florida relatively lets teams get to the line. Virginia Tech doesn't let you take a lot of threes, which is a good thing because Florida does a good job at hitting threes. Rebounding is even. These are 2 evenly matched teams. Like, when it comes to Virginia Tech's defense versus Florida offense, I mean, a lot of matching colors. So 2 evenly matched teams, it's going to be an evenly matched game. So when we look at similar matchups, that, about a 1.5 edge for Florida State, 55% win chance. The top 7 matchups were all decided by 6 points or less. So the total, 137.6. The total over here, 135. And the total in the game, I don't know what it is. Let's look at it. Virginia Tech and Florida. The total's 137, so that's right in line with what this has right here. So not a lot of value. I don't even have a bet on this game to even make it somewhat interesting. So that's the sad part. It's like, I can't even bet on the game. But 5 of my 6 metrics have Florida. 2 of the 4 have the over, and all the metrics have the Florida money line. So there you go. All right, so those are the first round matchups. Let's break down some hypothetical second round matchups here. So let's break down a hypothetical. The one I want to break down is Baylor against North Carolina. So this would have Baylor only winning by about 4, and North Carolina with a 1-3 chance. Sounds about right. Again, North Carolina's, they're not, even though they're an 8th seed, they're the number 17 team in my model, so they're not bad. So Baylor's offense against North Carolina's strong defense. Well, Baylor is the best 3-point shooting team in the country, and North Carolina does not do a good job at 3-point percentage defense. So that's a concern for North Carolina. Baylor is a great offensive rebounding team. Here's an interesting one, though. Baylor's prone to getting their shots blocked, and North Carolina's a top 25 shot blocking team. But when it comes to passing and everything like that, pretty evenly matched. And here's another one. Baylor does a very bad job of getting to the line. North Carolina prevents it. So when you look at this, if Baylor can hit their threes like they normally do, then they'll be fine. If not, then game on. But it's really all going to come down to Baylor's zone defense against North Carolina's offense. The number 36 defense versus the number 36 offense, so evenly matched there. North Carolina takes a lot of 2s, the number 3 team in the country in 2-point attempt percentage. Baylor gives you the 3. They play a zone defense. They're going to give you the 3. But unfortunately, North Carolina does not shoot the 3 well enough, in my opinion, to exploit Baylor's defensive weakness of 3-point defense. But however, the number 1, this is what I was talking about yesterday, the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the country against a team that doesn't do a good job at defensive rebounding. If North Carolina can get a lot of second chances, this is why this is a bad matchup for Baylor, then they have a chance. Get a lot of second chances, get the zone defense out of sorts, then yeah, you have a chance. And also, what's another good way to beat zone defenses? Transition. North Carolina, one of the better transition teams in the country. However, Baylor does a great job of forcing turnovers, and North Carolina is very prone to turning the ball over, so that's very concerning. Very concerning. They are a bottom 15 team in opponent steal percentage, and Baylor gets steals. However, North Carolina, another window here, one of the best teams at getting to the line, number 7 in free throw attempt percentage. Baylor fouls a lot, so that's another window for North Carolina. However, they're not a good free throw shooting team. So for North Carolina to pull this upset, if they get there, again, they're going to have to get a lot of second chances. And when it comes to those second chances, you're going to have to draw fouls or they're going to have to make threes. I don't think they're going to get it done by making twos because Baylor's going to make their threes. So that's what it all comes down to. Making threes above expectation, getting a ton of second chances, and getting to the line. But let's break down Baylor, Wisconsin, because, Wisconsin, I'm not going to sell them short. So Wisconsin a little bit worse than North Carolina according to the metrics. And again, they have a 3-point field goal percentage weakness, which is Baylor's number one strength on offense, and that's concerning. However, Wisconsin does do a good job at preventing free throws. They're going to have to control tempo, but I don't think Wisconsin would have the transition game to get this one done. However, unlike North Carolina, Wisconsin shoots the three a lot better, and they can take advantage of that weakness for Baylor. Number 22 three-point shooting team in the country. They could take advantage of that there. They take care of the ball, so Baylor's not going to be able to turn them over. And however, they don't do a good job at getting to the line, but they do shoot free throws. So for Wisconsin to pull the upset, they're going to have to make threes, and they're going to have to hope Baylor doesn't make threes. That's really what it'll come down to for Wisconsin, a three-point shooting contest, and I don't like Wisconsin in that one. So Baylor should be hoping Wisconsin gets there because I think this is a bigger mismatch, a 7-point edge, only a 31% win chance. All right, let's break down some other second-round matchups. Let's break down a Villanova against a Purdue. Right, that's the Villanova versus Purdue. This was a non-conference game last season, I think. Anyway, with Villanova's injury, you have to like Purdue here. You do. Villanova, strong offense versus strong defense, and a weaker defense versus a strong offense. So if you're looking for a Villanova weakness on offense, it's getting to the line and maybe making threes and offensive rebounding. So they're not going to get second chances with Purdue's defensive rebounding abilities. They do make a lot of twos, which is Purdue's relative weakness here. And then Purdue doesn't really turn you over. They let you get to assists, and Villanova's very good at passing and taking care of the ball. Free throws about even. So two slower-paced teams here, so a lower total. And then Purdue offensively, their weakness is three-point shooting, which and their strength is two-point shooting. Villanova not the best at defending either of those, and then rebounding is about even. Villanova is not going to really turn you over, so that's about a wash here. And then free throws are wash too. So Villanova's defense for Purdue's offense is a wash. So what it'll come down to is how many two-point field goals Purdue can make or defend against Villanova. That will be the difference there. But this is an even matchup. So let's say Villanova gets upset and we see Purdue versus a Winthrop, for example, because that's more of a contrast in styles. So this has Purdue by about 9. So this is a tough matchup for Winthrop. But it's a contrast in styles, and that's always interesting. Again, Purdue's relative defensive weakness is two-point field goals, which Winthrop really won't be able to exploit. And then Purdue doesn't really turn you over, which is a wash. And then this is a wash too. So it would all really come down to could Winthrop make twos? I don't think so. And then Winthrop's defense is actually their relative strength here. So if Purdue has an offensive weakness, it's three-point shooting, and that's about a wash. But I just think Winthrop would give up too many twos against a team like Purdue to get it done. They'd be able to prevent second chances better than some other teams. But here's another problem. Winthrop lets teams get to the line. Purdue gets to the line. So I think this would be I don't see Winthrop making the Sweet 16 if they were to play Purdue, if they were to make it past Villanova. All right, let's break down a Arkansas versus Texas Tech second round matchup, Southwest Conference. So Arkansas by about 2, very close matchup. Again, Texas Tech's weakness is a three-point shooting, defensive rebounding, and getting their teams to the line. So everyone's like, why is Texas Tech defense so good if they're bad at rebounding, if they're bad at allowing teams to get to the line, and they're bad at allowing teams to make threes? Well, they make it very hard on you to get easy shots, and they turn you over. So they make you uncomfortable. But when you make a team uncomfortable, they're going to be very aggressive and foul and maybe overextend on defense and rotations and everything to allow those threes. So unfortunately for Texas Tech, Arkansas is not a great three-point shooting team, so they won't be able to exploit that weakness. They should be able to get some offensive boards, and they should be able to get to the line. So if this matchup happens, then Texas Tech, I would be worried about Arkansas getting too many free throws. However, Texas Tech's offense against Arkansas's strong defense, that's a tough one. Arkansas does everything well defensively. They have no weaknesses. But their relative weakness, I guess, would be turning you over and maybe 2-point field goal percentage, which unfortunately Texas Tech won't be able to exploit. They take care of the ball, though. It's all a wash. So it will all really come down to, for Texas Tech, is limiting Arkansas's free throw attempts, limiting their second chances, and Texas Tech hitting enough threes because they're a better three-point shooting team. This is a tough matchup on paper for Texas Tech. So let's say Arkansas plays Utah State instead. This is a tougher matchup, at least defensively, for Arkansas's offense. So Utah State relative weaknesses is really only turning you over, so that's all a wash. So I think Utah State would be a very tough defensive matchup for Arkansas. So it all come down to Utah State's offense, which is lagging. It was lagging against San Diego State the other night. And like I said, since Arkansas has no relative weaknesses on defense, it's like, what does Utah State do? This is a hard part. The only thing Utah State really does well is offensive rebounding, which is a strength of Arkansas. Defensive rebounding, they get a lot of assists, which Arkansas prevents you from getting assists. They would have to have a Herculean effort for someone like Neemias Queta or Brock Miller in this game, and Arkansas is not going to give you anything. They don't let you shoot free throws. They don't let you make threes. They don't give you anything. You have to earn it, and I don't know if Utah State will be able to earn it. So if Arkansas can get by Colgate, I like them to make the Sweet 16. All right. The 2 seed in this region, Ohio State, I think they are going to make waste of Virginia Tech or Florida. So Virginia Tech, 9-point edge. Florida, a 6-point edge, but still, this is a more competitive matchup here, a rematch of the 2007 title game. If Florida would get it done, they'd have to exploit Ohio's relative weakness on defense. So, Florida's defensive weakness is probably defensive rebounding, plays in Ohio State's strength. Ohio State does a good job of getting to the line, which Florida relatively does not prevent you. So Ohio State, just like against Oral Roberts, is going to get their points. Can Florida score enough? That's the question. Ohio State's weakness on defense, they don't turn you over. They let you get to the line. Florida can get to the line, but everything else is pretty much a wash. So for Florida to pull off this upset, they'd have to get a lot of free throws. They'd have to win that edge. All right, so let's break down some Sweet 16 matchups. Let's break down a Baylor against a Purdue. That would be an interesting matchup. Baylor against a Purdue, because I think Purdue is going to probably make the Sweet 16. So this would be Baylor, the number 4 offense against the 24 defense. Again, if Purdue has a relative weakness on defense, it's they let you pass the ball, they don't turn you over. And they foul a little bit too much, but I wouldn't be too worried about fouls because Baylor's not very good at getting to the line and they're not good at free throw shooting team. However, Baylor's very good at passing the ball, so Purdue would have to find a way to be disruptive here. Purdue top 10 3-point defense, but going against the number 1 3-point offense is tough. And then looking at Purdue's offense against Baylor's defense, unfortunately, Purdue does not shoot the 3 well enough, in my opinion. However, offensive rebounding, just like North Carolina, they can get some second chances, and they can get to the line. So just like North Carolina, Purdue has a very similar offensive profile to North Carolina. They would have to do better than expected shooting threes. They're going to have to make their twos. They're going to have to pass the ball, get second chances, get to the line. But they can do it. I think Purdue and North Carolina are tough matchups for Baylor. They are. Again, only a 1.5 projected edge here. All right, let's look at just for the hell of it, let's look at North Carolina against a Purdue. Very even matchup. Projects Purdue by about 1.5, but 50-50 on the win. Contrasting styles here. Contrasting styles for sure. Interesting matchup to look at, though. Offensive rebounding percentage against a strong defensive rebounding team. Teams that don't take care of the ball against the teams that doesn't really force turnovers. So very interesting matchup here. A team that gets to the line pretty well against a team that's, somewhat iffy in some foul areas. And then Purdue's offense against North Carolina's defense. You have, North Carolina's a good defensive team. Not really any weaknesses here. A relative weakness of 3-point defense and maybe turning you over, but I don't think Purdue will be able to exploit that. So it will all really come down to this. Which team can make more twos? That's my opinion. Which team can make more twos? Which team can get to the line better? Both teams are good at getting to the line. So it would become a free throw contest if this were to happen. Probably not, but let's look at a Arkansas, which I think is your favorite to make the Sweet 16 in that pod against an Ohio State. Sugar Bowl rematch. So this has Ohio State by 6. So remember, Arkansas offensively. So this is the matchup right here, but I'll get that in a second. So the 29 offense against the 75 defense, right? So again, Ohio State's weakness relative is they give up some assists, they don't turn you over, so they let you pass. Ohio State lets you pass the ball, and they foul a little too much. Unfortunately for Arkansas, they're not the best at getting to the line, and they shouldn't, they don't really turn the ball over to begin with. So I think Arkansas will be able to score here. Rebounding is even. However, I just don't think Arkansas will be able to make enough threes against Ohio State to get it done. And then when you look at Arkansas defense versus the Ohio State offense, which is the matchup to watch. Again, Arkansas, no weakness on defense, but Ohio State has really no weakness on offense. So, what's going to give? That's what this matchup would come down to. Will Arkansas's defense play better than Ohio State's offense? My model thinks Ohio State would have the edge there, and that's what it'll all come down to. All right, now let's look at some potential Elite Eight matchups. So Baylor against Ohio State. So, Ohio State, again, weakness on defense, turning you over, free throws. Baylor, not a good team to get into the line, but they take care of the ball. Ohio State actually does a good job at defending the shot, but Baylor's a better shooting team. So Baylor's offense has a slight edge over Ohio State's defense here. However, my model actually has Ohio State winning on the blender in Random Forest, but Baylor at the edge on win percentage. So it's a wash. And then like everything, it'll all come down to, can you beat Baylor's defense? Well, Ohio State, number 3 team at shooting the 3, they'll be able to exploit that. Above average offensive rebounding. They're not North Carolina or Purdue, but they're good, and they'll be able to get to the line. So this is a very hard matchup for Baylor. Baylor did not get a favorable draw at all with North Carolina, Purdue, and Ohio State potentially. Those are 3 bad matchups for them. So if Baylor makes the Final Four, they will have earned it. And then, just let's look at Arkansas real quick. So Baylor by about 5 over Arkansas. This is a tougher matchup because Arkansas, they have the offensive rebounding, but not like Ohio State does. They don't have the 3-point shooting, and they don't have the ability to get to the line. And Baylor, number 4 offense against the 9 defense. Arkansas has no defensive weaknesses, but I just don't think Arkansas offensively would have enough to get it done against the 2-3 zone. They're not built to beat a 2-3 zone like Baylor. So that is the region number 2. So just to break down the matrix one more time, the value plays here were Ohio State. I locked them in at plus 400, and I also locked in Villanova at plus 1,600, even with the injury. That's how I see it going. But Baylor's title odds, if I look at futures right now, I have to log back into my sports book, unfortunately, because it logged me out. But Baylor's title odds, I guarantee you, are lower than that. So they're not a good value play. They got a tough draw. Baylor got a tough draw, and that's why I don't think they're a good play to either win their region or win the title. Whoops, wrong password. I'm trying to I want to see what Baylor's futures are right now. Like, if you're looking for any long shot title teams, Baylor's at plus 800. Yeah, there's no value there. Well, Texas Tech is the number 3 team at plus 4,000. Wait, no, my bad. It's not in order. So Gonzaga's at plus 180. No value there. Iowa plus 2,000. See, like, Iowa would be a good value play. They're at plus 2,000. Kansas is plus 6,000, not valuable. USC would be a value play, I think, at plus 10,000. So this is a Region 2 video. So when it comes to title odds, Baylor, no. Ohio State is plus 2,000, almost. Arkansas, plus 8,000. Yeah, they would be a value play. Purdue, plus 5,000, absolutely not. Texas Tech, plus 4,000, no. So it looks like everyone down from there is not a value play. Let me see what North Carolina's at real quick. 8,000, yeah. So your value play in this region is Arkansas for the title. For the Final Four, it's Ohio State and Villanova, but for the title, it's Arkansas. All right, well, that's Region 2. I'm going to move on to the Region 3 video, so I'll be ending this stream and moving on. So go out and try to look for my Region 3 stream popping up here soon if you want to keep watching these breakdown videos. Again, this file right here, you can download it from my website. The link is in the description of the video.